The 24th of June is St. John the Baptist, in Sardinia known as Santo Giovanni. It's a celebration that coincides with the solstice of summer, and it's the first celebration of the summer season. It is a celebration of friendship and also marked with the presence of fire in most rituals. Song Among the Ruins begins on the 24th of June, and in the first chapter we see several scenes which recall traditional rituals that usually happened in Cugliari. So in this video I will lead you through two scenes of the first chapter with a quick explanation of the meaning of the rituals behind them. So let's begin. Cugliari, 1830. The perfume of oaks and recently grown leaves mixes with the smoke of the hot cauldrons spread here and there in front of the fountains of Tiumemere, stone basins where water continuously streams from several mouths on the wall. Rosalia looks up, beyond the vegetation and trees that surround her, to the mount rising in front of her, now enveloped by the sunlight, making it almost impossible to discern the shape. She knows what's up there, and she likes thinking she can see it, on top of that mountain, as sharp as if it was cut with a knife. The castle towers over them every time they go to the fountains, visible from everywhere in the village, but she's actually never seen it from a closer distance. Rosa, are you going to stay there all morning, or are you going to help? Her sister calls from the ground, where she stays sitting on her calves beside their cauldron and basket of clothes to wash. Rosalia hurries to gather some more wood from their stock and pushes it under the cauldron. The fire invigorates for a moment. The water finally boils. Violetta spreads their clothes in the basket, giving it a side look to the boiling water. All the women gathered there repeat the same usual gestures. Some fill their cauldrons with water. Others are already rubbing their clothes in the basket, kneeling on the ground, bare feet against the cobblestones covered with moss. They all wear large brown kerchiefs covering their heads, and from behind their shoulders the traditional dark skirts and white chemises with their sleeves pushed up their arms. Rosalia moves the cauldron away and picks up the bowl, gathering more water to extinguish the fire. She pulls up her skirt and kneels on the ground, mixing ashes and boiling water with a stick. Violetta glances at her. "So, is there anything you have to tell me?" Rosalia looks up, her eyes betraying genuine confusion. "No, I guess." "Are you going out tonight?" "Everyone is going out tonight," she comments, turning the stick in the cauldron. "It's ready here." Violetta smirks a little and gets up. She takes a cauldron, pours a little mixture onto the cloves, and settles down again. "You know, Mother told me you are always at the window lately, or at the door." Rosalia gets up and puts her hands on her hips, her brows pressed together. "It's just very hot inside, and I need air." "Yes, I suppose so." "Does it mean it has nothing to do with Elias Ruyu?" Rosalia's frown deepens. "No, why should it? And he's in the tanka most of the times lately." Violetta looks up, quickly surprised by her sister's false step, and barely withholds laughter. "And you know that because?" "He's my friend. We live in front of each other. It's obvious, I know." She throws a kerchief behind her shoulders with a flick of her hand. Violetta smiles and starts rubbing. "Sure, stupid of me not to say that. Have you gathered your leaves already?" she asks, glancing up. Rosalia crosses her arms, struggled between wanting to pick up some now and not wanting to satisfy her sister's suppositions. She looks around, pretending to be uninterested, and then slowly makes some steps towards the mouths of the fountains. She bends down, gathers some water in her hand, and drinks it. The walls around the fountains are filled with vegetation and trees, a fertile place where to grow. A group of girls, dressed in the same way as her, approaches the fountains in subdued chattering and laughter. They gather some leaves from a bush and walk back to their buckets of cloves. Rosalia glances back at her sister, who pretends to be minding her own business while rubbing the cloves with ash. Rosalia stands on tiptoes and rips off a couple of large leaves from the poor bush, tormented each year by all the young, unmarried girls of Cagliari. She rolls the leaves and puts them under her apron strings in the back, so that she can hide them from her sister. She gets back to her and kneels down to help finish the job. Violetta gives her a look and smiles, but Rosalia's attention has already shifted again to the mountain of the old castle, huge and dark, towering over them. So in this first scene, we see Rosalia for the first time, and we also notice immediately her fascination from the haunted castle that towers over the village of Cagliari. We can see her and her sister at the fountains of Ciumemere, which is a fountain just a little outside the village, where girls usually on the day before Santo Giovanni used to gather some leaves from a nearby bush with the intention of predict their future husbands. So with Santo Giovanni there are many divination practices that used to happen during the night of Santo Giovanni. And what we are seeing here is exactly Rosalia practicing some sort of divination ritual in order to understand or guess her future husband. And that's also why all the other girls, unmarried girls of Cagliari, used to do the same thing every year. We go ahead to the second scene. The fire crackles vividly in the middle of the square, a huge bonfire constantly fed by men who bring trunks and dry branches. Its light is the greatest source in the fading day. It tinges an orange glow on all the houses, on the faces of the people, and on the stone facade of the little church. The entire village comes out to see the fires of Santo Giovanni, the biggest celebration of June. Children, and some adults too, ritually jump over small fires lit up along the road. Groups of men sing and play flutes at the border of the street, and all the society of Cagliari walks back and forth, avoiding the center of the streets. Men in traditional black and white attire, but also women of high class, adopting the French fashion of large skirts bordered in lace, and hats crowning their heads with feathers and ribbons. Rosalia stands near the great bonfire, glancing around and shifting on her feet. She pulls at her corset over the chemise, smooths down her dark apron, and fixes her muslin kerchief on her shoulders. She's not sure she will find him there. After all, it's the middle of the week. But she can hope. When he appears with his little brother by the side, their black and white figures blurred by the heat of the fire, Rosalia straightens up and turns to them. "Hey," Elias salutes, a little smile hiding his embarrassment. "You're here too? I thought you were in the countryside," Rosalia says, faking ignorance. "I was. Father gave me some free days for the festival." They stare at each other for a while, their lips betraying tentative smiles, and their looks scuttling away. Only the sound of music and chants between them. And Elias' brothers stare on the two of them. "Hello, Rosa," he says, to break the embarrassment. She looks down at him, a smaller version of his brother, and smiles, pinching his cheek. "Hello, Joaneddu. Are you having fun?" "I was. He just wants to jump over fires," Elias explains. "I was jumping over fires when you took me with you to meet..." Elias grabs his hand and pulls, clearing his throat. "Indeed, he just wants to play with fire." Joaneddu shoots him a bothered look. Elias fans himself with his hand. He feels suddenly hot and he's not sure it's because of the fire. "Isn't it too warm here? Shouldn't we move back a little?" Joaneddu rolls his eyes and starts jumping around by himself. Rosalia and Elias find a place near a house, where she stands with her arms crossed and he fidgets with the cuffs of his sleeves. "When are you going back to the Tanka?" she asks. He glances up. I stay tomorrow too and go back the next morning. I left father there with the sheep and Mustatsu. So you can help me do a thing tomorrow, right? She asks, bright with anticipation. She smiles and stares at him right in the eyes. He looks away. It depends on what it is. If I can... I want to see the castle. Elias looks up. A flash of doubt passes across his eyes. You mean? You want to climb to Castel d'Uetsu? Yes. I want to see how it is from up there. They say it's beautiful, and it's haunted, she whispers. Do you know the story? Elias rolls the braid at the side of his face around his finger. His dark curls turned orange below his berretta, hanging at the back. Sure, everyone knows. But I'm not sure. Are you scared? You, a shepherd? He frowns. What does it mean? I can be too. But I'm not. It's just a story, you know. Which means we'll go? Please. Elias glances at her and she stares at him with bleeding brown eyes. Her pale complexion, beautifully framed by her cream and brown kerchiefs, reflecting the sparks of the fire in the glossy print. All right, but it will take some time, he surrenders. We'll leave in the afternoon, after lunch. I can't in the morning. He nods. Alone? Rosalia thinks for a moment, then smiles. Yes, unless you want to take your brother with you, she adds with a smirk. Joannedu turns to look at them, and Elias clears his throat. No, it's fine. But you must not tell anyone. Promised? I won't. We'll meet at Tiumemere? Elias nods. Yeah, sure. When Rosalia gets back home, she finds her mother and little sister outside, talking to Violetta. Beside the donkey, tied to the wall, and the horse too, meaning her father has already come back from the vineyard. They all seem to be waiting for something, arms crossed and leaning against the wall. They stare at her as she approaches, and Violetta smirks. What are you doing still here? Rosalia asks her married sister. You took some time, she comments. Don't you check your leaves? Rosalia glances at her rolled leaves on the stone bench outside their small house, a poor thing made with little stones. Rosalia approaches slowly the bench and starts unrolling the green leaves. She glances inside. She can't see anything. She opens it fully, and a small little bug scuttles away, running on the bench. She can see it in the orange light of the bonfires. It's a louse! Violetta exclaims. Rosalia tries to push the bug away. No, it's not. It's something else. It's a louse. I saw it, Violetta repeats, chasing the bug with her gaze and pointing at it. What does it mean? Asks Simbenia, a small girl with dark hair braided in the back, as she tries to spot the bug among the cobblestones. Well, Rosa will marry a shepherd, that's it, Violetta explains. Rosalia fixes her stare on her. You put it there, it's your doing, she says, stomping her foot on the ground. No, sister, I assure you. Why should I have? You did it, admit that. You made fun of me. I don't want to see you. Rosalia throws the leaves away and gets into their house. Their mother gives Violetta a look and shakes her head. I didn't do anything, mother, Violetta defends herself. This second scene takes place the night of June 23rd, the night of Santa Giovanna. And the first thing we see are the fires of Santa Giovanna. In fact, it was a typical celebration of the summer solstice, basically, to light up bonfires along the streets. And people would jump over the fires in couples as a sign of friendship. So basically, jumping over the fires, which is something that here children and adults are doing, is a sort of consolidation of a friendship that is meant to last forever and is accompanied by support, by mutual support for the rest of their life. We also see that people, beside ritually jumping over fires, they also avoid the center of the street. In fact, it was believed that during the night of Santo Giovanni, only the spirits would walk in the middle of the streets, while human, living beings would have to walk at the borders of the street. In this scene, we meet Elias for the first time. He's a shepherd, and he lives most of his life in the countryside, in a location called Tancamanna. And we see here how his father allowed him to go back to the village exactly in the occasion of the festival, which is something that was commonly done at that time. We are talking about 1830 here. We also see his brother, Joaned, who makes fun of Rosalia and Elias. And we also see how Rosalia manages to convince Elias to visit Casteduezzo, the haunted castle that towers over the village of Cuglieri. At the end of this scene, we also see Rosalia finally opening her leaves. She finds a bug inside, in particularly a louse. In fact, it was believed that depending on the type of bug that a girl would have found inside the leaves, they would have guessed the profession of their future husband. So the louse was associated with shepherds, and in fact Elias is a shepherd here. But Rosalia doesn't actually believe that the louse went there by its own accord, but she actually believes that her sister Violetta tried to make fun of her. The next scene actually begins with another part of the divination practices of Santo Giovanni. I'm not going to read it. You'll have to buy the book to see how it goes ahead, but basically the final part of the divination practices was standing at the door of their houses the next morning and waiting for somebody to cross looks with the girl. Whoever crossed looks with the girl would an indication of the name or the family name of the person that would have become their husband at some point, usually within the year. So this was A Song Among the Ruins, my Gothic book set between 1668 in Cagliari and 1830 in Cuglieri. It is available on Amazon, also with its Italian translation, Un canto fra le rovine. Bye!